We're about to dive into the brilliant, messy, and honestly pretty hilarious stories behind things we use every single day. Turns out, some of the best ideas in history, well, they weren't really ideas at all. They were just complete and utter accidents.
Okay, so let me ask you something right off the bat. What on earth could possibly connect a salty snack with a kitchen appliance that nukes your leftovers in like 90 seconds flat? Take a second. Any guesses?
The answer is, they were both brilliant accidents. Yeah, they were born from things like revenge or pure forgetfulness or just random chance. And that is exactly what we're talking about today, celebrating the kind of genius that nobody ever planned for.
So get ready. We are going to count down 10 iconic inventions that were never ever supposed to exist. It really just proves that sometimes the path to success is paved with a whole lot of happy accidents. Let's get started. We are jumping right into the countdown, kicking things off with numbers 10 through 6. You might have heard of some of these, but I promise you their origin stories are going to surprise you.
Kicking us off at number 10, the snow globe. Can you believe this came from a failed attempt to make a better light bulb? Yeah, an Austrian inventor was trying to make a brighter bulb by adding water and some flakes, but instead of more light, he just got this beautiful little snowfall effect. It became a huge sensation at the 1878 Paris Expo. And then at number 9, we have the Popsicle, which was literally invented by an 11-year-old kid who forgot his soda mix outside on a cold night.
And get this, the inventor, Frank Epperson, he originally called his frozen creation the Popsicle. Can you imagine? Thank goodness his own kids convinced him to change it to Popsicle. Because, let's be honest, Popsicle sounds way too much like some kind of weird medical condition.
All right, moving on to number 8. Oh man, this one is a story of pure, delicious culinary spite. I'm of course talking about the potato chip.
Picture this. The year is 1853. A chef named George Crumb is dealing with this super picky customer who keeps sending his fries back, complaining they're too thick and soggy. So George decides he's going to be a total troll. He slices the potatoes so thin you can practically see through them, fries them until they're hard as rocks, and then just buries them under a mountain of salt.
And here is the twist, the absolute best part. His act of culinary revenge completely backfired. The customer absolutely loved them, and pretty soon everyone was flocking to his restaurant, demanding these new crispy, salty Saratoga chips. It just goes to show you, sometimes the best innovations come from deciding to break the rules a little bit.
Okay, at number 7, we've got tea bags. These were created when a merchant sent his tea samples in cheap silk bags to save some cash, and his customers, thinking it was some newfangled method, just tossed the whole bag into their hot water. And then, at number 6, we've got the matchstick, discovered when a chemist in 1826 just tried to scrape some dried chemical gunk off his stirring stick, and the whole thing burst into flames.
You know, the inventor of the match, John Walker, he knew he had something huge on his hands. But instead of cashing in, he actually refused to patent it. He felt it was an invention that belonged to everybody. What an absolute legend.
Okay, we've officially cracked the top 5. These are the heavy hitters, right? The Mount Rushmore of happy accidents. So let's see what amazing thing came from total chaos at number 5.
It is the 1904 World's Fair. An ice cream vendor is in a total panic. He's completely run out of bowls. But right next to him, a pastry vendor named Ernest Hamwee has an idea. He takes one of his thin, waffle-like pastries, rolls it into a cone, and just like that, the ice cream cone is born from a moment of pure crisis.
Number 4 on our list is a breakfast staple, an absolute icon, born from a weird combination of religious health nuts and, well, just leaving the dough out for way too long.
That's right, we're talking about cornflakes. The Kellogg brothers were trying to make this super healthy bread for patients at their hospital, but they accidentally left a batch of wheat dough out overnight. It fermented and got kind of weird. When they tried to roll it out anyway, it just broke into all these little flakes. Will Kellogg later tried it with corn and threw in some sugar, and the rest is breakfast history.
Coming in hot at number 3 is something you've almost definitely got in your house right now. It started out as this gross, gunky residue that workers were scraping off of an oil rig. Yep, I'm talking about Vaseline.
So this chemist, Robert Chesebro, saw oil workers using this gunk on their cuts and burns, and he was just fascinated. And get this for product confidence. He would literally burn himself in front of crowds just to demonstrate how well his new petroleum jelly healed the skin. Now that is some serious commitment. And you know what? His belief paid off. The man ate a spoonful of Vaseline every single day of his life and lived to be 96 years old. I am definitely not going to recommend you try that at home.
We're at our runner-up. Number 2 is an invention that came from top-secret military radar technology and somehow ended up in basically every kitchen on the planet. This is the story of the microwave. So, an engineer named Percy Spencer was working with these powerful radar machines called magnetrons when he noticed something weird. He reached into his pocket and he found, what? What could a radar machine possibly do to something in your pocket?
A completely gooey, melted candy bar. He immediately realized the waves were cooking his snack. So what does he test next? Popcorn, of course! He created the world's first microwave popcorn right there on the lab floor. And yeah, the first model was the size of a car and cost $5,000, but thankfully they eventually figured that part out.
And here we are, the moment you've been waiting for, the #1 accidental invention of all time, the undisputed, undefeated champion of delicious mistakes. It is, of course, the chocolate chip cookie.
So it's 1938, and a baker named Ruth Wakefield runs out of baking cocoa. So in a pinch, she just chops up a chocolate bar and throws the chunks in, figuring they'll melt into the dough. They didn't. They stayed as these perfect, gooey little pockets of chocolatey goodness. She later gave the recipe to Nestle, not for cash, but for a lifetime supply of chocolate, which honestly sounds like the best deal in history.
So, from vengeful chefs to forgetful kids, we've seen that genius often pops up where we least expect it. It proves that innovation isn't always about having a perfect plan. Sometimes it's just about embracing the unexpected. So the next time you mess up, don't just fix it. Maybe ask yourself, wait a minute, what did I just discover?